All right, welcome to the Nonprofits. For our fourth and final story this week, we look at the intersection between big business and big religion. Always an entertaining, if terrifying, combination. A coalition of conservative faith-based investors is using its growing financial influence to pressure companies into abandoning progressive policies and initiatives. Backed by an estimated $500 billion, it's with a T, in assets, these groups are leveraging shareholder proposals, lawsuits, and direct confrontations with executives to target practices they oppose, such as funding pride events, providing abortion-related benefits, and promoting diversity and inclusion efforts. At the forefront is Guidestone, a Texas-based investment firm managing $24 billion, which has joined forces with organizations like Inspire Investing and conservative state pension funds and launching public campaigns. I think I skipped a line there. These investors are employing strong-arm tactics to sway companies, even when their proposals garner minimal shareholder backing. Their strategy mirrors the broader conservative push against environmental, social, and governance policies, aiming to silence corporate support for progressive social causes. There, I'm done with that. This story is from the Insurance Journal by Jeff Green and Sajil Kishan on January 3rd, 2025. Eli, take it away from me. We seem to be trotting on familiar grounds with this story. Take us down that well-trodden path.
Yeah, so just for context, the article starts with Jim Leggett, devout Christian in Washington State, said his religious beliefs have always made him opposed to practices such as abortion, transgender transitions, and embryonic stem cell research, which I didn't even realize was a thing that people were like still opposed to. And there are, I guess, some non-secular reasons that I've looked into that don't hold up to me. But like, I didn't realize people still had a problem with stem cell research from all the benefit we've gained from it. Right. But this article was almost like a little gift from our producers saying, hey, Eli, here is an exact example of what you're going to talk about on the Friday episode, just in case you need one, because this is the person who has interwoven his faith with his religious beliefs so much that he's now investing all of his financial assets into like forcing companies to enact or rescind programs that do or don't align with his religious beliefs. He's financially bullying companies into acting like Christians because that's what he wants, because of how his beliefs are interwoven that way. And that's the scary part to me, is that there are people with this much influence is the word I was looking for. People with this much influence that have these beliefs and are like willing to spend their money, forcing others to behave the same way.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, in the article, they talked about, quote, investing God's money and honoring the Lord with all of their resources and, trying to make it seem like this is a pious, righteous thing that they're doing here. Are you buying it? Do you think this is more about praising the Lord, or is this more about flexing and about enforcing your beliefs and about the money? I mean, what do you think is the real underlying purpose here?
I think, it's almost surely about, if not their deity, it's their itself, then the tenets, the religious practices. Like, well, because I think this is wrong, because that's what God's telling me, I'm going to stop anybody else from doing that too, because that's what God says I'm supposed to go and make disciples of every nation. Right, so, right. I think absolutely. I think it's less about, are they, upset about any, monetary benefit they might gain in return? Of course not. It's just an ancillary benefit, though.
I think they're keeping all of the profits. I mean, if it's God's money, they seem to be picking God's pocket here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so as I understand it, what they're doing is they're investing this money in funds that are going towards basically, like I mentioned, like economically or financially bullying corporations
Right, right.
into, changing their programs. So I'm not, savvy enough to really understand how that will kick back and profit the people that are investing in it. But I'm sure it's if they found a way to include that, it would be another attractor toward other investors that have the same, even if they don't have the same values, they can just get more people to invest money in it just to get that return, regardless of what they believe.
Yeah, and they're happy to to accept their voice along with their own to support their to support their message. Speaking of message, Chris, I want to jump over to you here for a second. I seem to remember reading something somewhere about how there's a better chance for a camel to fit through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into the Christian heaven. Now, that was decidedly not the gist of this story. Does that disparity surprise you at all?
It does not. And one of the things, first of all, remember there was this story about Jesus talking about how one of the two instances I believe he mentioned hell specifically, or the fires of hell, was talking about the rich man. So there's that. But also this, like Eli is talking about, these people are using the money as a cudgel, as a weapon, as a tool to force other people to do what they want. They don't care about profits. What about profit? Who cares about profits? They don't care about profits. There may be some profits, great. The mom and pop who invest their money in this in order to, force really to help move businesses in a Christian way. I don't think they care as much about profits, especially the higher at the top. They're using it to use their force, their influence to impose Christian theocracy throughout our business infrastructure.
Eli, do you agree with that? Do you think this is just a method being used to enforce one's own personal religious views onto others?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly what I think. And basically, as I was trying to say, pointing out earlier, basically, Chris kind of nailed it.
All right.
Well, it's not surprising, although it is disappointing, to see Christian groups using their clout and financing to oppress others rather than forwarding the better natures of their religion, right? They've got better things that they could be doing essentially with their money. Millions of people go hungry around the world, and yet these people are spending all this time and all this financing trying to do what? To make sure a gay person or a brown person or a woman doesn't have equal rights to their straight, white, male, cis counterparts. That's what this is really about. A lot of this is about anti-DEI policies. And another thing, it's an interesting reflection about how a lot of this is based on sexual orientation, their actions. When you go look at some of the articles, they're trying to force other companies not to embrace DEI policies. Really, this Christian group, you're supposed to help the weak, help the meek, help the weak, those who can't help themselves. And yet here you are specifically targeting some of the most vulnerable people in our society. And they're using all the money that they can get to do that.
That's an excellent point, Chris. We talk about how they're using their money to enforce their religious beliefs, but not all of their religious beliefs. It seems like a subset of their religious beliefs. You said a cudgel earlier. I think it was you, or maybe it was Eli. Yeah. You said a cudgel, and really that is what's happening. I mean, they're just battering people to do what they want to say, but they don't want to do things that their religion does seem to, at least to me, an outsider, it seems that their religious scriptures seem to support.
They're not being Jimmy Carter's, are they?
Whatever you do to the least of mine, you do to me, that kind of thing. And it seems like it's like they're off brand there, but they're still clinging to that brand. They're still, maybe it's a cross-shaped cudgel that they're using. Who knows? I want to jump over to Eli for a second here. Eli, so this type of, dare I say, bullying can be quite effective. Companies will sit up and listen when their bottom line is barking orders at them. Are they making progress with this strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jim Lake even put some of the one of the companies that mentioned that he put some of his assets into is called Guidestone. And according to the head of shareholder advocacy for that company, his name is Will Loveland, there's now $500 billion in investments spread across conservative faith-based private funds and state pension funds that can be brought to bear to influence company behavior. And one of these funds, for example, that falls under Guidestone Fund Management is Alliance Defending Freedom, which we've talked about before. They were heavily involved in getting Roe v. Wade overturned. Are they making headway? Yeah, absolutely. They've gotten Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson released an ad campaign that had some LGBTQ people existing in it, and that was unacceptable for Robbie Starbuck. So he bullied them with his money until they changed the ad campaign or changed some of their programs, or there was some outcome. And like companies are folding to these people because they have the money and they have the influence over other consumers. So yeah, they are making headway.
So they are. So they're swinging that cudgel. They're being effective with it. They're changing, changing policy in these big companies. And at first glance, we might, we talk about it like it's a bully tactic, like it's, kind of underhanded and devious. And but if we look at it from another perspective, all they're doing really is speaking with their money, right? They're saying, they're not literally physically assaulting people, but they're saying we will withhold our money or we'll redirect our money, or the $500 billion, that's a lot of money. I mean, we can't even imagine that much money. People can't even tell the difference between 1,000 and 1,000,000 or 1,000,000 and 1,000,000,000, but $500 billion, that is a shit ton of money. Pardon my French there.
Yeah. Well, wait, if I may, they have $500 billion and they're going to waste their time on an ad from Harley Davidson. They've got that kind of time to go after that kind of person, Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Carry on.
No. That's a good point there. That's a good point. But my question about if we look at it one way, what they're doing is underhanded. If we look at it a different way, perhaps playing devil's advocate, we can see that, well, they're really just being, prudent consumers and investors. Should we offer any resistance to these tactics? Us as, it seems to us at least that we can kind of see through what's happening here. But should we, because technically what they're doing is legal, it's allowed. And so should we just put up with it and take our lumps and deal with the consequences later, or should we actively resist it? Chris, what are your thoughts there? Are you muted?
No, I was just talking. I think the deal is that being a prudent investor is one thing. Yes, that's great. Worry about your product, worry about your stock. Going after DEI policies is not being a prudent investor. You're just trying to hurt people. They're just doing this to hurt people. They're doing it to go after people who don't share. Now, see, it's one thing, like you say, they're using their money to influence policies, but that's not just what they're doing. You're taking the devil's advocate role, but by doing that, you're softening the harm and damage that they are using to real human lives with this money that they are wielding like that cudgel. Like we're talking about that $1 trillion. What happened to the people who were going to make money off the actors and all that, just off that aspect of the people who were going to make money or part of their living off of the Harley Davidson commercial? This $1 trillion company went after this and got all that scrapped, and there's some actors out there who lost all that money that would have been gone to them for what? Doesn't make Harley Davidson motorcycles any better or worse. They still go potato, potato, potato when you pass by them. It doesn't do anything to make the product better or anything. So there's no prudent investor excuse for this kind of action. You're going after gay people, after brown people, after transsexual people, and probably almost certainly after women as well. The equality in pay in women. And you're going to use it as prudent investing is not, prudent investor management is just not, I don't think that's something personally that holds water.
So you think they're pushing the boundaries of believability on that?
Well, at least on that point. I mean, just be open. They are imposing their own theocratic wills on us. You do what my religion tells you or tells me I think you should do. Not that you believe these things, but that my religion tells me, and I'm going to use my money to force you to change your ways. So you bark at my dog, or you know what I mean? Bad example.
Right.
But don't bark at my dog, he barks back. But that's what they're doing. It's not just about but it never, not one time in what we just said did it ever we bring up product quality, any of that business that forwards the company, or that a prudent investor would have. This is about not liking gay people, not liking brown people, not liking trans people, because their Christian Bible tells them to. I don't know. None of the people in their Bible are white anyway. I don't really know how that works, but you know how they are.
The angels.
All right. Yeah.
The angels are all white.
Exactly.
With blonde hair.
Okay, so Eli, I want to build on that a little bit here. So this approach as a business tactic seems very because I say so to me, and we all know that because I say so is the last resort of a frustrated or a lazy parent. So do you think that this is a desperation ploy on their part? Maybe the winning the hearts and minds is not being as effective. So let's pull out that cudgel, right? Let's pull out and let's, force the issue. How does that, or is this just another tool in the Lord's toolbox, right? So are they getting desperate, or is this just business as usual for the Christianity machine?
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily desperation, but I think it is just another tool. It's a way that they've found that, like, oh, well, we can influence the things that we've wanted to influence by doing it this way instead. And it's easier than like waiting to you're trying to convince everybody to vote the way we want, and then waiting for them to do that and hoping that there's enough. So if we can just do things this way and toss around a few dollars and get these corporations and the, whoever else that they're influencing to, do what we want, then we can affect these people. And the fact that they're really just saying, like, we want you to stop, like, intentionally hiring people that aren't white. Like, it's such a strange concept to me. But yeah, I really think it's just another tool that they found that they can use to manipulate the world the same way religious institutions have always done. Right.
All right. Cool. Yeah. Thank you. I'd like to jump back over to Chris. By the way, Chris, welcome to the show. This is Chris's first appearance on Nonprofits. So, I like what I've seen so far. So hopefully we'll be able to get you back on sometime soon. But
appreciate it. Thank you.
We've discussed this similar type of thing on the Nonprofits quite a bit. There's a heavy amount of research. Is that the right phrase? Heavy amount of research. There's a lot of research.
Use the R word. Research.
I did read. Yeah, the research. Yep. There. Take it with a grain of salt, or your mileage may vary, or whatever the caveats go along with that. But there's lots of research that shows that there's a very strong correlation between religious and political conservatism and authoritarianism. And so, how does that fit in? How does this story fit into that paradigm? Does it, or is it worth looking at, or am I just barking up the wrong tree here?
No, I think it fits perfectly. It's all part of, as mentioned, I think I mentioned on another segment of the show, that part of fascism, a definition of fascism, is the marriage between government and business. And that's kind of what we see here. It's religion in our case, right? They're taking religion, they're using based on what they believe in their religion, and using finances to, part of the deal, I think, is to essentially force that upon everybody else. Again, the encroachment of the theocracy. And I think part of it is that some of these people, especially the older people listed in the funds, I noticed a lot of them were like retirement funds, and a lot of this, the clock is ticking fast, and they're getting towards the end of their age. A lot of them look more like me than they do like Eli. And so, the time is running out, and you know what they're missing out on? That glorious Christian nation they've always wanted. And so they're throwing the coin. And like I said earlier, I don't think there's a lot of hope for a lot of financial return as much as it is religious reward. I'm signing that check over to this company that I know is going to further my Christian rights. And Jesus is looking over my shoulder, and he's going to be so proud of me. And when I die, Jesus is going to be going, he's like, I saw you write that check. I did. And I am so proud of you. You did such a good job. Really, I mean,
You
it's a
should do
lot
a whole show in the persona of
Yeah.
Jesus, just like that. I think that'd be awesome.
of. Don't tempt me. Yeah. So that's kind of what I think a lot of it is about. A lot of it, I think, is that a lot of these people, especially the big money guys, why would they do this? What do they care? What does that? I care. Well, part of it is they have a vision, and that vision has not reached where they feel it should be. They're older, they're getting to the end of their life, they got money, they got some things, and they want to try to get that Christian nation that they've always had these perhaps romantic notions about.
Right. Yeah.
And if if a few people need to be oppressed to get that done, far be it from them.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay.
You shouldn't have been standing there.
Yeah, what are you doing in our way?
You were asking for it. It was the way you were dressed, right?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So Eli, I want to kind of look at this from the other side. Okay, so and I'm a novice when it comes to things like investment and banking, and that's just an area of the world that I will never really understand. Fortunately, my dad is an accountant and my brother is a former stockbroker, so I got that all covered in my family. But maybe one of you can educate me on this. So if investors can speak with their money by choosing where to invest and applying pressure as they see appropriate, can fund managers or company managers choose whom they allow to invest with them? Is it a mutual agreement when a stock is purchased, or is it all one-sided? And if so, do they have a responsibility to the company to vet potential investors and to reject those that might be inclined to apply this kind of pressure? We'll go to Eli first there. So should the fund managers be applying as much discrimination as the investors are?
And you mean like as far as to whom they're working with and
Discrimination
where their money...
in the non-aggressive sense, right? Discrimination just in distinguishing between different people.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know anything about how any of it works either. I think you don't want to start saying like, well, certain people aren't allowed to have certain services because that is discrimination. That does get into really sticky waters, really sticky waters, really quickly.
Oh, I hate that sticky water. Yeah,
sucks. You don't want the sticky water, but it's definitely. I mean, yeah, if there's a company, let's say one of these management companies that cares about the reputation they have as far as what the funds they're managing are supporting, then yeah, I think they do have the responsibility to look into those groups and say, like, if you're, if this is what you want to support, we can't stop you from doing that, but we're not going to help you do it.
Right.
Just kind of part end their business relationship at that. That would be less, less saying this group of people can't have this service, and more saying like, we're going to provide this service, under conditions.
Mm-hmm. Chris, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that the companies could kind of turn the tables and employ the same tactic from their side?
Well, one of the things I think is that they, first of all, these companies that are doing this are very plain about who they are. They're very open. Mm-hmm. We are this. Give us your money. If you go to this Guidestone, I think it was called, you're giving money to a Christian organization. Mm-hmm. I think they're very open about it. So in that fashion, they're kind of already making sure that most of the people who are coming in the door are swimming in the same direction. Mm-hmm. It's not that the investor, the Guidestone is the one telling them where to go. The investors come and they feel the same way, so they choose to be part of that and invest. Now, if an investor comes along to Guidestone that isn't a Christian, maybe like me, maybe I got $1 zillion, I'm Chris, the amazing super Christian, I'm an atheist, and I hate Christianity, but I'm going to give my money to Guidestone. Mm-hmm. They would take it.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see why they wouldn't take it. Okay. All I can do later is go, I don't like what you're doing, and take my money out. But until I do that, they can use all my money to continue to cudgel. So I have no doubt that they would take my money.
Interesting. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Eli, any last words on this subject?
It kind of points to this idea that, like, and we almost touched on it a little bit earlier, that it doesn't really matter anymore, like, what the people want or what's best for the citizens of the United States. It starts to matter who has the most money, but not really so much even that, as much as like who, uses their money the loudest and the most
Right.
effectively. And once organizations or groups, start to learn the most effective ways to implement that money or those resources to make the changes that they want to change. I mean, it's the way that things go in our everyday life are going to kind of start to be at anybody's whim.
So are you saying that it's kind of like a might makes right situation? Whoever has the biggest stick, wins. Is that what we're looking at here?
I wouldn't call it. I wouldn't call it right, but yeah, it is sort of like whoever's swinging the biggest stick gets to to make the choices, to be the king of the hill, and kind of determine get rid of DEI programs if we want to, because we have the money to affect that change.
Well, and we all have to worry about a big swinging stick, right?
Right.
And I'm so glad I didn't mispronounce that. I was like, I shouldn't say it. I'm going to say it wrong. I'm going to mess it up. And then I thought, what the hell? I'll just go for it, and we're okay. So, all right. Well, thanks, guys. I had a great time this evening talking to both of you, and I thought we covered some really interesting subjects. And if you, dear viewer, would like to see any more discussion on these type of topics, just follow us and click on these links.